Hello everyone, this is Pooka and welcome to round number 6 from the Illinois State Championships. In this round we will have a familiar face, Tom Stanky. He is back. He won his round 4 match against John Roberts II, the U.S. national champion. He's still undefeated, and now he's going to be going up against Richard Lucas, a very old-time player here. He's been playing since base set. I have known him since I started playing this game, and it's nice to see him doing well here. Also 5-0. These are two Illinois players going at it here at the Illinois State Championship, and we'll see how these guys can match up here, as Mr. Lucas did mulligan his hand there, and now he's going to shuffle in to get a fresh hand of 7, and Tom will get an extra card. So you can see the respect between these two guys. Tom not cutting Mr. Lucas's deck. These guys know each other very well, and there's a lot of respect here. And yeah, I mean, we should see a great matchup here. Obviously, both these guys are undefeated at this point, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen here in this matchup. Now, Tom, we saw he was using a Garbodor deck when he played against John in round number 4, and now we're going to get set up here with these two players. Now, Mr. Lucas, I know when he's playing some sort of a big basic deck. It's got Tornadus, it's got Landorus and Mewtwo, and it's also got Victini, so it's got a lot of stuff in there. Mainly just big basic Pokemon. But we'll see how this matches up against Tom's Garbodor deck, which is basically another big basic deck, but it runs the Garbodor line with added tools as well. So in a way, you would have to say Mr. Lucas kind of has an edge because his deck doesn't have all of the, like excess cards like the Garbodor line. That will be useless in this matchup because there are no abilities in Tornadus, Mewtwo, Landorus, any of those cards. None of them have abilities. So Garbodor is actually just worthless in this matchup. It is like 5 or 6 dead cards in your deck in this matchup. So you got to think just based on that, not having any dead cards, Mr. Lucas will be the one at the advantage, especially when it comes to late in the game. Playing N, you don't want to draw into those Truvishes, those Garbodors. It's a brutal way to lose a game, just drawing into your junk cards at the end. Because you honestly don't even want to play them down. They're worthless. But we'll see what happens. And it looks like there was a bit of a delay starting this round, so I apologize for that. I thought this had started sooner. Oh well. But yeah, I mean, it's cool to see Tom doing so well. Like I said in the last video, he has taken a hiatus from the game. I mean, I think the last time I saw him play was around 2007. He just came back this year, and he's doing very well. I mean, he's just 5-0 at this tournament. This is a pretty large state championship. 130 plus players in the Masters division. It's a 2-day tournament, some high-class competition here. And Mr. Lucas as well, he hasn't had too great of a tournament run over these past couple of years. Ironically enough, the last time I remember him doing extremely well at a tournament was the Illinois State Championship back in 2007. So these two guys actually do have a bit of history. Back in 2007, Richard actually was the one who knocked Tom out of the Illinois State Championship in the top 4, and then Mr. Lucas would go on to win the Illinois State Championship. And coincidentally, that was the last time I saw Tom play, was that year, 2007. So we're having a rematch here from the Illinois State Championships. We'll see who comes out on top this time, if Tom could get his revenge or not. And, man, there are some delays at tournaments sometimes. These guys have been set up for a few minutes now. I guess I didn't quite realize that it had taken this long to start this round. But we'll get started shortly here. And, I am looking forward to seeing what happens. And there we go. We have a Landorus versus a Mewtwo, and then a Trubbish and a Terrakion. And I believe Mr. Lucas is going first, but I haven't seen anyone draw a card yet, so I'm not sure. Alright, there we go. So, Mr. Lucas, we'll go first with that Landorus. This is a very strong opening for him. Mewtwo in the early game was not that great against Landers. He's actually going to catch up Terrakion, which I don't mind either. With that 4 retreat cost, it forces Tom to have a switch to get out of there. And also, he's playing more cards down to use Bianca, so that's not a bad move at all. But he puts down the V-Create Victini as well. I don't think that card's going to do too much in this matchup, but who knows. And we're going to see a Hammerhead from Mr. Lucas. It'll do 30, and he's going to do 30 to the Trubbish as well. I really like that play. It's going to make it so that he can get a free prize next turn, just Hammerheading that Trubbish. And, you know, one prize you might not think makes much of a difference, but it does when that Terrakion is on board, too. Because then all he has to do is knock out Terrakion, the Hammerhead will knock out Trubbish, and he just has to take down 2 EXs and he wins the game. That's a big difference between what Tom's going to have to do. He's going to have to take down 3 EXs to win the game, probably. Because, you know, the Victini only gives up 1 prize. I would assume Mr. Lucas won't play any more single prize Pokemon down. That wouldn't make much sense. And Tom actually plays a Juniper there. He discards 2 Ns doing it. That's kind of costly. But, you know, Mr. Lucas only played a Bianca for 3 cards in the first turn. Didn't seem like he had much, so he probably didn't want to give him, you know, any more cards. You know, why give him more cards if you don't have to? It is at the cost of discarding 2 supporters, so we may see him fizzle out later on in the game. Here's a computer search. He's discarding a Trubbish and a Skyla. He's probably going to grab a Fighting Energy since he doesn't have one in his hand, so that he can start putting on the pressure with his own Hammerhead. I don't think he'll really grab anything else here. He does need to attack this turn. Otherwise, Mr. Lucas will have a pretty big advantage. But we'll see. Tom is searching through his deck, and yep, he's going for the Fighting Energy, I think. He's just going to check to see if anything's prized first, though. It's always an important thing to do. A lot of players overlook this thing when they get to search their deck. You always have to make sure things are in your deck and not prized, otherwise you can be in a bit of trouble as the game goes on and you don't know what's left in your deck. So for players, you know, who aren't so experienced, if you're heading into tournaments, definitely use that opportunity when you're searching your deck to see what's in there. You know, if you have the rest of your Landers prized, you want to know about that so that one turn when you go to search for one with like an Ultra Ball, then you know if it's in there or not. And you can make some mistakes based on knowing what's, or not knowing what's in your deck. So here we're going to have a Laser and a Hammerhead, so that Landers EX is poisoned. That's a bit of an annoyance for Mr. Lucas. Now if he were to play anything like Eviolite, he would be in some trouble, but hey, there's a Laser of his own, and he's saying right back at you, Tom. And we'll see if he can pull anything else off here. You know, he does have the first energy drop, which is a really big deal. If he can attach the second energy, it looks like he's going to switch out of this, though. Just switch into his Victini. I was going to say, if he can attach the second energy and threaten the first Land's Judgment, that's a very big deal. Now, he's actually going to play an N here after the switch. I guess he's hoping for like a double switch so that he can still get the extra attachment in, threaten a Land's Judgment for next turn, and get rid of the poison as well. I'm not sure if it's worth going for this. You know, just having the advantage with the second attachment is probably enough. The 10 from poison isn't the end of the world, and you know you're going to get the first prize, hitting that Trubbish. So I don't know, this is kind of a risky move. We'll see if it pays off. And let's see, does he get, he needs at least an energy to retreat and Hammerhead again. You would think that he wants to do that. You know, if he gets a Verbank, that could also help. And alright, there's a switch. He does pull off the double switch. Does he have another energy, though? Yes, that is a huge play for Mr. Lucas. He's going to Hammerhead the active for 30, take down that Trubbish, and wow, this is a very strong start. Gotta admit, that was a great move. It paid off, and now there's going to be a lot of pressure on Tom, but it's definitely not an unwinnable position, that's for sure. He's going to have to switch gears now. You know, he can still Hammerhead with the active Landorus, but he's got to power up the Mewtwo because that Landorus is going to go down. You don't want to commit a second energy to the active Landorus because it's just going to be knocked out. And he's actually just going to switch gears right now. He's going to switch into the Mewtwo instead of just saying, you know what, I know Landorus is going to get knocked out. He's just going to go with Mewtwo. And he's going to X-Ball, which will do 80 damage. It's going to put that Landorus up to 120 damage. And this is a very big play. This is going to put a lot of pressure back onto Mr. Lucas, and this is just the power of Mewtwo. Anytime something starts getting some energy, you can really just keep it in check with nothing more than a Mewtwo and a double colorless. So there's 120 on the Landorus now, and Mr. Lucas really needs to get some more Pokemon into play. Besides that poor Victini, he needs something out there. You know, a Mewtwo would be ideal to respond to Tom's Mewtwo. Even another Landorus would be good, since I would assume he's going to Land's Judgment this turn for 150. But we'll see what he grabs with this Ultra Ball. He does play Tornadus as well. That wouldn't be a bad option. And he's actually going to discard 2 ends here. So we see these players just kind of liberally discarding their ends. You know, it's a great draw card. It's a great disruption card at the end. But sometimes it just feels like you need to get rid of those because you don't want to give your opponent a bigger hand at some points in the game. So deciding when to play end is it's actually a hidden skill in this game. It's something that a lot of players overlook. A lot of players screw up on it. Sometimes people play it when they don't need to. They give their opponents a new hand. Sometimes they discard it when they don't need to. You know, it doesn't seem like much, but it definitely can swing games in very subtle ways. Now, Mr. Lucas did play that Ultra Ball. He is searching for a Pokemon here, and he's got to decide which one is the best one to go for here. If you go for another Landorus, you can Hammerhead the next turn to finish off that Mewtwo. Put 30 somewhere else. But what's your follow-up then? You can't really Land's Judgment again. I'm assuming you're going to Land's Judgment for 150 this turn. So you probably want to take a Pokemon that can be strong with just one energy, and that is a Tornadus EX. You can blow through for just a double colorless. Even if you only do 30, you'll knock out the Mewtwo after you do 150. And it's not vulnerable to another Mewtwo, which is, you know, kind of a problem with Mewtwo. You don't really want to use Mewtwo to finish another Mewtwo off. You want it to just one-hit it. So, right choice getting the Tornadus here. I believe that. And we'll probably see him put an energy on Landorus, and he does, and he's going to draw 5 with this Bianca. And he actually does something kind of subtle there, which is really nice. He had a fire and a fighting in his hand. Now, Land's Judgment, it forces you to discard all your fighting when you do the extra damage. If he had attached the fire, then he would have retained one of those energy, and then an X-Ball would have knocked him out. But now that he discards all 3 fighting, the Mewtwo is forced to attach an extra energy in order to knock out the Landorus. So that is a very big deal. One little subtle attachment there, so very, very nice play there from Mr. Lucas. He is on top of his game today, and we'll probably see him hit for 150 here. And these next couple turns are going to be huge, you know. He has taken the first prize, but Tom's going to get the first big EX knockout. And this is going to be a big back-and-forth game. And this is, you know, you would think that, you know, Garbodor just kind of should be clunkier. It should lose in this kind of a matchup where it's just got a bunch of dead cards in the deck. But in reality, it's kind of a mirror match if both players just draw the right stuff. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. This is just nothing more than a mirror match, just the Garbodor deck has a lot of tools in it as well. So now Tom's going to have to attach another energy to that Mewtwo in order to get a knockout. He's X-balling for 40 here. He needs to attach one more to do 60. Another option would be if he plays Verbank, he could Skyla for the Verbank, Laser, attach a fighting to the benched Landorus, and then X-ball for the knockout. Otherwise, he's just going to have to attach to the active. And oh, he almost attaches to... Oh, he does attach to the benched Mewtwo. Nope, never mind. He's taking it back. He's got to realize that he needs to attach the active to X-ball, and he does. You know, sometimes you can get stuck and just kind of feel like, yeah, X-ball, that'll knock him out. Yeah, he's got a ton of damage. X-ball does a ton of damage. It's going to knock him out. And then you look, and you're like, whoa, wait. I actually don't do enough damage. I need to attach again. Oops. So, good thing that Tom caught that there. He's going to put an Eviolite on his active Mewtwo as well. This is, you might think it's kind of wasteful, but it's not bad. It's going to force Mr. Lucas to have a combination of 2 cards now. And we do see an X-Ball from Tom. Interesting that he decided not to play a supporter there. He could have played a Skyla or an N. I don't mind not playing the N there, but maybe you want to play the Skyla to give yourself an option. Maybe he's just holding on to it. He doesn't know what card he wants to grab, so there's no point in playing a supporter there. I can understand that as well. Just interesting that, faced with the decision of whether or not to play 2 supporters, he actually opted to hold on to them. We see most players just kind of playing supporters whenever they have them. So I like seeing someone thinking about that stuff and not just, playing supporters when they don't need to. So here we do see the double colorless from Mr. Lucas, but he is actually short of knocking out this Mewtwo unless he puts a Stadium into play or he gets a laser. Because of that Eviolite, now Blow Through only does 10 damage, which means it's 10 short of the knockout on that Mewtwo. So Mr. Lucas is going to need something here. He does play a Super Rod, shuffles in a Landorus and 2 fighting. And alright, he does get a Skyla, so that's good for him. We'll see what he grabs. We saw Tom plays Laser, but I don't know if he plays Verbank. So if Mr. Lucas, goes for the Verbank, which is what he's doing, yes, he can Blow Through for the knockout, but now he's going to give Tom stronger lasers as well. So it's kind of a trade-off there. Do you want to waste a laser, knock out the Mewtwo, or go for the Verbank, strengthen Blow Through for this turn, but also give your opponent stronger lasers? I guess Mr. Lucas is thinking long-term that the Verbank is going to help him more than it's going to help Tom, and he does take the knockout on the Mewtwo, and he goes up 1 prize here. We're now at 4-3 in prizes. Can Mr. Lucas pull this off, or will Tom be the one taking this one home? It's a battle of 2 undefeated players here at the Illinois State Championship. This is some close stuff here. It's definitely going to come down to the wire. And now Tom is thinking, all right, what do I promote here? If I promote the Landorus, I can attach Laser for 30 and then 10 with Hammerhead. That'll set me up for a Land's Judgment knockout. But he actually promotes the Mewtwo, and fortunately top decks a double colorless. Now that's a huge card to draw. Here is a Laser as well, so he will be able to poison that thing. And I can't tell what the flip was. Looks like a Tails since he's not putting it to sleep. But yeah, now he can put the double colorless on the active Mewtwo. And this is probably the turn where you want to play that N and disrupt Mr. Lucas. And exactly, that's what he's doing. Tom's going to get 4 cards. Not the greatest, but the objective is to put your opponent down to 3 cards. That is more important. And he's going to be able to X-Ball for 80 plus 30. That's going to put a ton of pressure on that Tornadus. And it's going to force Mr. Lucas to have another attacker soon. So this is just how quickly things can swing back and forth with Hypnotoxic Laser. It's just such an incredibly powerful card, and it just makes your opponent have something immediately. Otherwise, they get burned by the poison. They just get destroyed. And now we're going to have an X-Ball. That's going to do 80 plus 30, so it's going up to 110. And what does Mr. Lucas have to respond with here? He has a very, very large deck still, so there's a chance he just might not draw any supporters. But I don't know if he's actually played any Junipers yet this game, so he'll have plenty of those left to work with. And he also discarded some Ns early on, which could actually end up being big. Looks like someone bumped into our camera. Thanks for that. But he puts down a Mewtwo and puts a fighting onto the Mewtwo. And he's thinking about it. He might not have any other option. He may have to Blow Through for 60 here. And it's just kind of a lose-lose situation for him, honestly. If he attaches, or if he doesn't attach, then he's forced to top deck into a double colorless next turn. If he does attach, he opens up a play for Tom to catcher up that Mewtwo and then get another double colorless, or even a fighting and a laser and get the knockout. So it's a tough spot no matter what. And it looks like Tom is in the lead at this point. He is definitely at the advantage. It's not over by any means, but Just look at his hand. He's got an Ultra Ball. He can discard some stuff. And a Juniper. He's got an energy as well. That Tornadus is going to go down no matter what this turn. That's for sure. We do see a Juniper from Tom. He's going to discard all those cards. He realizes he doesn't need to put down that Trubbish at this point. And he's going to draw 7. And, whoa, we see a couple max potions there. So he's got a pretty unique list here for this deck. There's no catcher. That would have been big. You could have catchered up the Mewtwo and then done Hammerhead for 30 and then knocked out the Tornadus still. So we'll have to see what he decides to do this turn. He could either retreat or switch into his Landorus and then Hammerhead, do 30 to the Mewtwo, setting that up for a Land's Judgment for the win next turn, or even an X-Ball for the win. And at this point, it is looking pretty grim for Mr. Lucas. It just does not look like he's going to come out on top in this one. There's just too much energy on Tom's field, too much damage on his field, and it is just a recipe for disaster here. We'll see what else happens. Tom does have a max potion he's contemplating. I would probably just play that to get rid of it. Play it on your Terrakion, I suppose. No harm in doing that. He's actually going to do it on the Mewtwo, though. That's an interesting move. Put it back in his hand. That would be pretty good if Max Potion did that, huh? Think about how broken Blastoise would be if that happened. Remove all your damage, return all your energy to your hand. That wouldn't even be fair. So we're going to see a Hammerhead, 30 onto the Mewtwo, knock out the Tornadus, and now it's just 1 energy, and Land's Judgment ends the game next turn. He's going to take 2 more prizes, and that'll be it for Tom. That'll be it for, well, Mr. Lucas's winning streak here. It's tough to find a way out for him. He does get another Tornadus. That's a big thing. He could put that down. But he puts another fighting onto the Mewtwo. It doesn't look like he has really anything else to work with. That N got him really good. It just disrupted him to the point where he doesn't have any more cards to work with. And he's just going to X-Ball for 60, and there's the energy, there's the Land's Judgment. They shake hands, and Tom Stanky will move on to 6-0 here at the Illinois State Championship, continuing his run with his Garbodor deck. Mr. Lucas will fall down to 5-1, but still a pretty darn good record, and that's not the last we'll see of him. So, thanks, guys, for watching. I'm Pooka here from the Top Cut. We'll have some more coverage from the Illinois State Championship coming up soon. Stay tuned, and I'll see you next time.